Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's a little early for our ordinary town hall meetings, but we have a special, a series of important information to get through today. Welcome to what is our town hall meeting. I'm going to try to cover a little bit of the COVID-related data very quickly, and then we're going to transition to a conversation regarding the county's proposed urban trail. This is the repurposing of former CSX property rail lines in and around the city and town of Poughkeepsie. It's a very exciting project, and we're hopeful that you will engage in the public process to help make this a great new linear park here in Dutchess County, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Today represents the first day in the state of New York since the onset of the COVID pandemic that the state has relinquished most of its restrictions. There are still certain government restrictions that are in place. That's the second part. Thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone's telling me what to do. This is the first day since most of those restrictions have been lifted. There are still a few that are in effect that the governor has left in place. But generally speaking, no longer social distance, mask, and capacity limitations in certain businesses, business types, etc. Excited to tell you that includes Dutchess Stadium, which returns today to 100% capacity. And Friday evening, the Hudson Valley Renegades, as sort of a celebration to returning to normalcy, will be hosting a doubleheader, including at the end of that second game, a fireworks display. So hopefully we'll see you there. Let's go quickly through the dashboard and some of the data points so that you have it. Dutchess County, over the course of this entire pandemic, has logged 29,472 confirmed COVID-19 cases. We are currently tracking 80. That is a reduction of 48 cases since 2 weeks ago. There are now 4 hospitalizations. That is down 3 from 2 weeks ago. And of course, we want everyone to recover. Certainly, I know the human toll of this virus. We want everyone to recover. But that is a very low number of individuals hospitalized by this virus. Sadly, 445 individuals have lost their life to COVID-19 here in Dutchess County. And that is in addition of one tragic death occurred over the course of these last 2 weeks. Today, our positivity rate is 0.2%. That is 0.24%. That is as of June 14th, and that is also the lowest positivity rate since we began recording positivity rates on May 1st of 2020, which at the time was 12.5%. I've said this a few times before. I will say it again. We are not in a public health emergency situation any longer. Yes, the governor and the state still maintain a state of emergency declaration. We believe is no longer necessary. And were we tracking just this data, knowing what we know today, under any ordinary condition, the local public health departments, who really truly are the state health departments statewide, would be managing this situation. But that's where we are at this point. As it relates to vaccines and vaccinations, Dutchess County continues to expand the reach of vaccinations. We are now at 66.3% of all those 18 years of age and older have received their first dose. As you know, that's what triggered the governor's decision yesterday. Statewide, that number is 70%. It's not a scientific threshold. It was one established by the state. We can debate that, but nevertheless, we are now at 66.3% of all Dutchess County adults. That's 165,756 Dutchess County residents have begun their vaccination routine or series. And we are now at 50% have completed their vaccine series. That is 147,117 individuals. As I said yesterday, with the state reaching a 70% of all adults having secured or taken their first vaccine of the series, New York State has rescinded most of the COVID-19 related restrictions, not all, but most. And that includes that, however, though, does not relinquish or rescind the mask requirements for unvaccinated individuals or mask requirements in certain settings, large-scale indoor event spaces. Again, pre-kindergarten to 12th grade, although we do not support that. That is still, however, the standard. Public transit, homeless shelters, correctional facilities, nursing homes, healthcare settings. Those are the current conditions or situations or venues where masks are still in this state required. Today we have a pretty exciting conversation about a big project that's underway. This is we've dedicated approximately 1 hour this afternoon to learn more about the county's proposed urban trail. Ideally, throughout the conversation, you'll hear you'll hear the presentation. You'll see some design and sort of architectural treatments, if you will. And we encourage you to ask questions. I'll get to some of the details in just a moment on how best to do that. But this meeting today is being recorded. We're using both the Zoom platform and broadcasting this Zoom meeting on the county's Facebook page. So this meeting is being recorded, and it will be made available at the newly established Urban Trail website. That is DutchessCountyUrbanTrail.com, DutchessCountyUrbanTrail.com. We have a Spanish Spanish-speaking translator, Chris. Chris is working with us today. Gracias, Chris. Thank you, Chris, very much for your participation. To hear this presentation translation in Spanish, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen and select Spanish. So again, Chris is our Spanish interpreter today, and if you'd like to hear the presentation in Spanish, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen and select Spanish. We also have our American Sign Language interpreters with us today, Diane and Roxanne. Thank you. I'll refrain from any other words that I want you to translate, but nevertheless, Diane and Roxanne are joining us again today, and you can see them on the screen, or you can click on their box to pin it so you can see it more prominently on your screen. Today, again, if you're following us on Facebook Live and you have a question, please add your question in the comment section below the live stream on the Facebook Live platform. If you're simply following us through Zoom, please use the question and answer function at the bottom of the page for questions. So again, if you're on Facebook, use the comment section below the live stream. If you're following us on Zoom today, use the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom platform, and we'll be happy to try to get to your questions. So this urban trail project is part of the largest expansion of Dutchess County parks in 50 years. It includes, that expansion includes some major investments in other county parks, including the purchase and development of the Lake Walton Preserve. We're not talking about that today, but we are talking about the urban trail. This is a transformative project. Linear parks have made significant differences in communities across the globe. And a rail trail, or conversion of a rail bed into a fully accessible, multiple use trail, in particular in and around urban settings, are truly transformative. And this particular project expands the county's already successful trail projects. The Dutchess, of course, the Dutchess Rail Trail in Central Dutchess that connects to the walkway over the Hudson, and the Empire State Trail to the massive New York State Empire Trail. But also, of course, the oldest of our rail trails, the Harlem Valley Rail Trail, and the expansion we just opened only months ago. This urban trail is a transformative project. We're utilizing the former CSX rail bed in the city and town of Poughkeepsie, connecting to the county's Dutchess Rail Trail in Poughkeepsie. Additionally, of course, we're connecting many assets, including Hudson Riverfront property, Marist College, the new Hudson Heritage Development Project, and of course, parks, businesses, and restaurants throughout this particular central core, if you will, of Dutchess. The project is made possible thanks to a partnership with Scenic Hudson. The county has had a long-standing relationship with Scenic Hudson, where we fought together, of course, to protect the Hudson River and invest in natural and environmental resources, but also expand the broad reach of open space farmland and connecting with parks just like this one. Scenic Hudson transferred this 2.7-mile corridor to Dutchess County in late 2019 to help us create this public use trail and develop this universally accessible linear park. Project's estimated cost is between $12 and $14 million. We are dedicating some of our resources that we secured through the American Rescue Plan federal aid toward projects, park projects, this being among them. The project, again, total cost estimated between 12 and 14 million, but a tremendous investment. And of course, rail trails have really helped both for tourism, recreation, but also economic growth. And we can point to those benefits as well. Today, you're going to hear about the design concepts, the trail route, and opportunities for more public input. We truly put a high priority on engaging with the community stakeholders, and we want you to be a part of this process. So you'll be hearing today from our consulting team. That includes Hudson Valley Engineering Associates and Susan Blickstein, Planning Policy Research, assisting us in that regard. And you'll be able to learn more about the rail trail and this particular project again at DutchessCountyUrbanTrail.com, DutchessCountyUrbanTrail.com. We are truly excited about this opportunity. After the last 18 months, we know that our parks have been places where community has come together, and folks have had to, find ways to come together in interesting and creative ways. And Dutchess County Parks have been the platform and the place where much of that has happened. This urban trail, as a continuation and expansion of the county's successful linear parks, will really truly help us to create new connections and help to transform this central corridor in the city and town of Poughkeepsie. We're very excited about it. We hope that you participate in its planning. And I look forward to the conversation today and the day we cut the ribbon and all get to enjoy this new tremendous asset, this new universally accessible linear park. And with that, I'm going to introduce to you Brendan Fitzgerald from HVEA Engineers, and he and the team will walk you through the presentation. Again, if you have a question and you're following us on Facebook, do that in the comment section below the live stream, or if you're on the Zoom platform, please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the page. And Brendan, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to thank the county executive for his opening statements, his support for the project, and for the opportunity for our firm to be involved in the project. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This is the first of two planned public informational meetings for the proposed Dutchess County Urban Trail Project. My name is Brendan Fitzgerald. I'm a principal at Hudson Valley Engineering Associates, located in Beacon, New York. We are the consultant designers working for the county on this project. I am joined today by Jack Wharton from our office, who is the project manager for this exciting new trail project. I'm going to provide a few introductions and a brief overview, and then Jack will provide more detailed review of the project and walk you through the proposed trail segments. Joining us today and managing the project from Dutchess County are Robert Balkine, Commissioner of Public Works, along with Matthew Dukavich and Soma Matthew from the DPW Engineering Division. They're actually here in our office with us today to help answer questions after our presentation. From our design team, we also are joined by Susan Blickstein of SGB, who is coordinating the public outreach for this project. Also, we have several folks from Scenic Hudson joining us today. As you've heard from the county executive, Scenic Hudson facilitated the purchase of the proposed trail property and will remain a partner doing project development. I also want to mention that the county has created a steering committee and an emergency services committee. The steering committee is comprised of representatives from the county, city and town of Poughkeepsie, Scenic Hudson, Marist, and Hudson Heritage. The emergency services committee consists of representatives from all county, city, town, and Marist emergency services who have jurisdiction in the proposed trail area. Over the course of the last several months, we have met multiple times with both committees and have received valuable input to incorporate into the project. Today, we want to introduce you to this exciting project, and then most importantly, allow opportunities for you, the public, to provide meaningful insight, make comment, and ask questions. At the end of the presentation, we'll provide information on how you can get updates and stay connected to the project as it is developed. We will also set aside time today to answer questions you may have, and then also outline how you can provide comments or ask questions after the meeting. The intent of the Dutchess County Urban Trail Project is to provide a regionally significant trail network connecting people and places. It is planned to be wide and open, well-lit, safe, and available for use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. As this graphic indicates, the nucleus of a trail project may be a linear park, but the potential for the Dutchess County Urban Trail project goes way beyond that. Like other trails, it'll offer recreational opportunities. It will also be connected to countless businesses, restaurants, services, and other points of interest. It will be a way for people to get to work. It will be a place for community events and exhibits, and also a path to nature. Quite literally, a link to everything the area has to offer. From the city of Poughkeepsie's north side to multiple neighborhoods in the town of Poughkeepsie, to Marist, and to the Hudson River waterfront. To expand on this, I'm gonna hand it over to Jack, and he's gonna provide you more detail for this proposed trail.
All right, thank you, Brendan. As the county executive mentioned earlier, Scenic Hudson acquired this former rail corridor from CSX. They then in turn transferred the property to the county with the intent to construct an urban trail network. The former railroad is actually comprised of two legs, as shown here in the green line and the blue line. We've divided the network into what we call the eastern leg, which is shown in the green, and the western leg shown in blue. The eastern leg is approximately 1.6 miles long and starts in the north side of the city of Poughkeepsie at North Hamilton Street. It then heads north, passing the Justice Center and Parker Avenue, across under the Dutchess Rail Trail, behind the the Schatz Bearing facilities, behind the Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital, and heads north, bisecting Marist College and the Fox Run Apartments, across Fulton Street, where it ultimately terminates at the new Hudson Heritage Development north of the Home Depot Plaza. The western leg is slightly less than 1 mile long and starts in the southwest near the Amtrak and Metro North tracks at Kittredge Place, and then heads north through the heart of Marist campus, passing the McCann Arena, under Route 9, through the college, and meets up with Fulton Street close to the eastern spur. To facilitate connectivity and create a more complete trail network, we are proposing on-street improvements along Fulton Street and Cedar Street. These are shown here with the dashed yellow lines on the drawing. Lastly, we'll be installing wayfinding and ADA improvements throughout the northern portion of the city to direct users to the trail. This is also indicated with the yellow dashed line on the drawing. As we expect this trail to be more than just a recreational facility, we do anticipate heavy demand. In order to provide adequate space for the potential users, we're proposing several robust trail cross sections. In the areas that are expected to have the most use, we're planning a split use trail. It's this top drawing here. This will have distinct separated facilities for bicyclists and pedestrians that'll be separated by a colored and/or textured median. The pedestrians will be accommodated on an 8-foot wide pedestrian pathway, and it'll be alongside a 10-foot wide bicycle path. The 4-foot median will be flushed to provide opportunities for crossover between the paths and extra usable width, but will help to define the pathways and also house the lighting that Brendan mentioned earlier. Where we expect demand to be less and we do not have adequate width available, we're planning a 16-foot wide shared use trail. That's this one here in the middle. In this scenario, bicyclists and pedestrians will share the trail, which is similar to most of the trails that can be found throughout the Hudson Valley. However, to accommodate the expected demand, this trail will be wider than most at 16 feet wide. The Dutchess Rail Trail, for reference, is 13 feet wide, so this is a nice wide section. Lastly, we're proposing a roadside trail along West Cedar Street and Fulton Street. In this scenario, a 10-foot wide shared use trail will follow the roadway and be offset from the road with a 5-foot grass buffer. It's here. The 5-foot buffer will provide pedestrians and bicyclists separation from the vehicles on the road, which will improve safety and comfort for the trail users. This is a simple rendering of how the split use trail could look cutting through the Marist campus. Notice the distinct facilities for the bicyclists and the pedestrians, which are separated by this colored median. As noted earlier, the lighting will be accommodated in the median to adequately illuminate both facilities. The shared use trail section will look similar to the Dutchess Rail Trail, however, just a wider asphalt section. A key distinction here from the Duchess Rail Trail is the lighting that will run next to the trail in the shoulder areas, as there will not be a median to house the lighting. One critical design element of all trail projects revolves around roadway crossings. This trail will create new conflict points between pedestrians and bicyclists and motorists, as the corridor crosses several streets with varying different characteristics. We'll be designing a crossing appropriate for each roadway depending on its characteristics. At a minimum, high visibility crosswalks and signage will be installed. These are examples of different crossings that have been implemented in different trails throughout the country. These techniques may be appropriate at different areas throughout the corridor. One crossing in particular has been identified that warrants a grade separation, and that's where the eastern leg crosses Fulton Street. Fulton Street carries over 10,000 vehicles per day, and with downhill grades, vehicles are often traveling at higher speeds. The eastern leg unfortunately crosses Fulton at a location with poor sight lines, so the trail is proposed to be ramped up and cross over Fulton Street via a bridge. The bridge proposed for this crossing is the historic truss that's shown in this top photo here. This is a bridge that the county removed from one of their roadways over Metro North tracks in Dover several years ago. They have since been looking for an appropriate home for the historic structure and are proposing to install it here as an adaptive reuse. This render here is a simple graphic of what Fulton Street may look like with the bridge crossing overhead. Trail safety is another critical design element. In order to create an inviting, comfortable environment, the trail will adhere to recommendations in the Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design Guidebook. Some of the key elements of this guidance are maximizing sight lines, reducing points of confinement, and having adequate lighting. The photo here is a prime example of an area that is confined by privacy fencing and overgrown vegetation. We would look to remove the fences and clean the vegetation to improve visibility and get more eyes on the trail. The ultimate goal is to have enough activity and eyes on the trail that it becomes self-policing. Brendan mentioned our emergency response committee earlier. We have been working with the emergency services to evaluate the use of cameras at strategic locations and ensuring that sufficient access points are installed. The project will install wayfinding and ADA improvements in the northern portion of the city to route the residents to the trail network through an accessible route. There's also potential for a future expansion to the east to connect to a potential trail along the Fallkill if that's developed in the future. And now I'd like to take just a few minutes to walk through the corridor and highlight some of the key areas and connections. I'm going to start at the southern end of the trail at Hamilton Street and work my way north along the eastern leg to Hudson Heritage. I'll then circle back and we'll review the western leg starting at the north side of Fulton Street and head south towards Kittredge Place. The trail will begin here at North Hamilton Street, just south of the County Justice Center. This segment will be the split use trail, which is indicated with the blue and yellow lines along the corridor. Right at the beginning of the trail, we have the opportunity, a unique opportunity for green space and or a pocket park, as the trail corridor directly abuts the Fallkill right here. So this area will be looked to be enhanced for public space. The trail then heads north past the Justice Center, where we encounter the Parker Avenue location. Parker Avenue is going to be a major decision point along the corridor. Here, we are closely located to the Duchess Rail Trail, the walkway over the Hudson, and a property that Scenic Hudson purchased and has plans to create community space. The trail will take advantage of the development in this area and then create a spur that will head to the walkway over the Hudson and the community space that Scenic Hudson will be working on. Parker Avenue will be improved through the installation of a flush median, similar to one of the photos that I showed earlier. This will create a boulevard effect on Parker Avenue, slow vehicle speeds, and enhance the safety for the pedestrians and bicyclists crossing at two locations in the corridor. The trail will then head north and cross underneath the Duchess Rail Trail. The Duchess Rail Trail is carried by a bridge that actually crosses over this former rail line here. To provide direct access, an ADA compliant ramp will be installed to the east to provide access to the walkway over the Hudson, and to the west, and to the east to provide access to points east. A small connection will be made to Taylor Avenue to provide easy access for the residents in the neighborhoods over here. As we head north of the Dutchess Rail Trail, the trail passes behind the Schatz Bearing facility and the former Schatz Bearing facilities. Similar to Taylor Avenue, we have the opportunity to create a direct connection to Clark Street for access for the residents in these neighborhoods. Heading past Schatz, the trail will navigate behind the Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital, where we encounter Cedar Street. Cedar Street will be an at-grade crossing with appropriate signage and striping installed. There's a small gap of missing sidewalk on Cedar Street that will be completed or filled in to provide access from Fairview Avenue to the trail and to the hospital. Heading north of Cedar Street, the trail will cut between the Marist Student Housing and the Fox Run Apartments. And this is the area that we are going to transition the trail from the split use segment to the 16-foot wide shared use portion that's indicated here in this blue line. Just north of Fox Run, the trail will cross Fulton Street. This Fulton Street crossing is the crossing I showed earlier with the bridge. So the trail will be ramped up and cross over Fulton Street and then ramp back down to the corridor. To provide access, an ADA ramp will be constructed in the southwest quadrant, and a more direct staircase access will be constructed in the southeast quadrant. There's a missing gap of segment east of the trail corridor on Fulton Street that will be completed and filled in to provide a direct continuous access for the many neighborhoods west of the or east of the corridor to the trail here at Fulton Street. The trail then heads north behind Home Depot Plaza to Hudson Heritage. A direct connection will be made to the new ShopRite and other commercial space in the Hudson Heritage development. Hudson Heritage will then continue the trail through their development to Route 9 and ultimately to Quiet Cove Park. I'm going to switch gears to the western leg. Just to reorient yourselves, this is the eastern leg between Cedar Street and Fulton Street that we previously reviewed. You can see here in this slide the on-road connections or roadside connections that I spoke about earlier on Fulton Street and Cedar Street. These connections will provide direct access between the two legs to provide a continuous network for trail users. The western leg begins here at Fulton Street and heads southwest towards the Hudson River. This entire western leg will be the split use trail section, indicated by the yellow lines and blue lines on the drawing. The trail will cross under Marist's beautiful pedestrian bridge. We'll have a direct access route up to the Marist East Side sidewalk network to provide access for students. We'll then head south and cross under North Road. At the North Road intersection, we will have an ADA compliant access path in this quadrant here and a more direct staircase access here in the northeast quadrant. This will provide access between the trail and the Cedar Street path. Heading further south, the trail will cross under Route 9 and behind the McCann Arena. Similar to other points of interest, we are proposing a direct ramp to the McCann Arena and also a staircase for more direct access. The trail then heads slightly further south where it terminates at Kittredge Place, adjacent to the Metro North and Amtrak tracks. We have sufficient space here to construct a small trailhead parking lot, which is depicted here in the gray. And then a small segment of sidewalk will be filled in to provide direct access to the sidewalk network that's on Kittredge Place, which ultimately heads to the Hoffman Street Bridge and directly ties into the waterfront and the train station. The project is planned to be phased and built in segments. The current thought is to build the eastern leg from Parker Avenue to Hudson Heritage first. The western leg and roadway connections would follow. We'll be using this summer to progress preliminary plans and engage with the public. Final plans and details will be worked on the later part of the year with the goal of beginning some construction in early 22. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Susan, who will provide an overview of the public outreach plan. Susan?
Thank you, Jack. So we've been working very hard through until what we learned earlier at this meeting from the county executive, through some challenges in engaging with the public during COVID. But we're happy to say that we have an active website with a lot of very good current information on it. And we are combining both virtual engagement with an upcoming in-person and hybrid meeting in August. And that date, as soon as it is nailed down, will be prominently posted on the project website. We are also attending a number of community events and hosting what we call pop-ups. So these are informal opportunities to look at the routing and to look at design concepts and to talk with the project team. On the lower right, you'll see that we were at the Arlington Farm Market just last week. Just hang on. Yep, sorry about that. Next slide, please. So you can look for the project team at a number of locations throughout the city and the county over the next at least a handful of weeks, if not a little bit longer. And we are also working on a youth outreach event, which again, once we have the final details on that, that will also be prominently displayed on the website. So in addition to being out in the community and doing this meeting and a future hybrid meeting in August, we're also happy to say that the survey that is available and that you can reach through the project website already has over 350 responses. So we are going to keep that survey open until late July, and we will be reporting back to the community what we have learned from that at the August meeting. So please stay tuned for that opportunity. If you haven't taken the survey, please take it. Please share the link with your own social networks and with your family and friends, because the more people we hear from, the more we can consider your input as the design progresses. So I'm going to turn it back to Jack now.
Okay. So that concludes our presentation. Up on the screen, you'll see some contact information for Matt DeCavich from the county and from Jack Gordon. I think this information is also on the website, but I think at this point in time, we're going to look to answer some of the questions that you have.
So perhaps we can start with the question from Kyle noted about the approximate mix of the two different trail sections, split use versus shared use. And I know that, we may not have it, exactly, but if the design team has a sense of that, that would be useful to share.
It's in the range of about 70% split trail and 30% single track.
Okay, excellent.
So the majority of it is going to be the split trail.
Just like Jeff, give Jeff a second here.
Yeah. If we have a second, I think we were going to try to get Jeff from Scenic Hudson to come on and make a comment.
The county needs to unmute Jeff. Ann Zavino.
Yep, just one second.
while that is happening, perhaps there is a question about whether there will be public restrooms. Perhaps that can be addressed while we're waiting for Mr. Anzamino from Scenic Hudson to be able to speak.
We're not currently planning on putting any restrooms in as part of the project. I can say that much.
Thank you.
Whether the Parks Department adds them later, is another question.
Hi, I think I'm on. Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you
You're
are.
on.
Great. First, thanks to the county executive and the whole team, everyone at Dutchess County, for the outstanding job that you're doing in planning this project. Scenic Hudson's really excited about it and its potential to benefit Poughkeepsians and especially the people that live on the north side. And one of the reasons we're so excited about this is because of the trail's potential to serve the walking and biking transportation needs of local residents. In fact, I'm reminded that just last night, my wife and I rode our bikes across Walkway. We live in Highland. We had a nice meal at a Mexican restaurant on Parker Avenue. So I can see just thousands of people using this trail for those types of purposes, getting to work every day. And there's a lot to like here. I've just in what I've heard today, first, Dutchess County's commitment to public involvement in the design of the trail, that it's going to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and be safe. This split use portions of the trail, I think, are just fantastic because, as you probably are aware, the local trails like the Dutchess Rail Trail and the Hudson Valley Rail Trail and Walkway are so crowded the way they're designed that sometimes there are use conflicts. So we appreciate the split use portions of the trail. Using that historic truss bridge, I think, is a fantastic idea across Fulton Avenue, and likewise the improvements to Fulton, Cedar Street, and other streets to better provide network connectivity. The potential to create another trail to the Folk Hill Greenway. Connection to Clark Street is great, and we hope that the trail will be as permeable as possible with connections to as many different neighborhoods as possible. And finally, the connection down to, through Hudson Heritage, down to Quiet Cove Park. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of Scenic Hudson. We think you're doing a great job. And we really look forward to hearing what Poughkeepsie residents have to say about how this trail can be designed to best meet their needs. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much. There is a kudos comment that from Carl Whitehead, just noting that he's been looking forward to this project and envisioning it for 20 years. And two additional questions, one involving the fact that the on-street parking near the Clark Street access point is limited because there's no parking on many of the streets there. But Clark Street does have parking and is widely used by local residents. So that's more of a comment than a question, just to be aware of that. And then there is a question by Michael Welty, who is the Township Town Planning Director for the town of Poughkeepsie. And he is asking about connections to the hospital and to the potential future redevelopment of the former Schatz Bearing site. And I know that the team can speak to that. So I'll turn it back over.
Sure. On the connection to the hospital, and in Jack's presentation, you saw he did. We did extend the sidewalk network. It's a the trail butts to a back parking area of the hospital, and they it really the most sense of the connection is right there at West Cedar with a little extension of sidewalk. I think we're going to zoom in on it so you can see. But it provides a pretty direct connection. In reference to the redevelopment of the Shaft property, certainly, if that does happen, if even this helps spur that, or either way that goes, there's some great opportunities there to benefit the trail. So that would be an exciting thing if it does happen.
At this time, I don't see any additional questions. So I'll turn it back over to the county executive and the design team to bring us to closure.
Does anyone from the design team want to offer any additional comments? Perhaps just reinforce ways the public can continue to give input, and anything else you wanted to offer?
Can we put the contact info back up?
Sure.
Yep, there is one not late, but there is one additional question as you're loading that information about landscape design, and in particular around the use of native and drought tolerant vegetation, and also the potential future value of the Greenway as a pollinator type sort of green space.
One nature. Sure, Susan. Yeah, I mean, certainly landscaping and, some of the areas we're looking to develop is green space. I think Jack mentioned the one by the Fallkill. We do have a One Nature landscape architect who's very much into native plants from Beacon here, is on our design team. So when we get to the appropriate point, we haven't looked at that yet, but when we get to the appropriate point, he's going to be assessing the full length of the trail, and we're going to use different areas for opportunities to provide landscaping.
Let me say on behalf of the mayor of the city of Poughkeepsie, any effort to create little, pollinator pockets is certainly something I know that Poughkeepsie would embrace.
Okay, thank you. There's an additional question coming in from Fred Schaefer, asking whether a connection to the walkway at the waterfront elevator and Duchess One Path and south to Warius Park is being considered.
I think both of those locations are sort of outside this corridor. I mean, where the trail terminates on the waterfront at Kitteridge Place, it will connect into the sidewalk networks. And then the spur off of Parker will be an accessible point to get to the walkway over the Hudson, in addition to the accessible ramps that we're going to supply at the Duchess Rail Trail. So there'll be ways to get there. It's just that the trail that I don't think crosses those points that were mentioned in that question.
Thank you. There is another question that just came in from Peter Van Aken, asking if the Fulton Avenue, Cedar Street connector portions will require removal of existing trees or any acquisition of private property via eminent domain.
There will be, even with the trail construction itself, there will be obviously some tree removal. I believe certainly along a portion of Fulton, there's going to be, in order to get that side trail in, we're going to need to do some regrading and some minor tree clearing there. In terms of property, the actual side trails themselves do fit into the town street right-of-ways, but there are some areas where we may need some temporary easements. We also have some impacts to Maris property with temporary grading and some of the project connections. We're obviously working with them closely already, and we've outlined those locations, and they're going to work with us to find the appropriate instrument to allow the work to get done.
Thank you. There's a question by John Baisley asking about whether there'll be seating along the trail route and how seating amenities will be addressed.
So John, we won't be providing seating directly as part of the construction of the trail, but it's something that we're mindful of so that it can be done at a later date. I'd assume it'd be similar to like the bench program that our Parks Department runs. But we have to take a little bit of a bigger look at landscaping and what we're going to construct as we get deeper into design.
Thank you. There's a follow-up question about the trail as it goes through the Hudson Heritage complex and whether it will be designed with the same design criteria in terms of width and lighting, material, etc.
Hudson Heritage did say that they'd like to match the width of the trail when they tie in to go into their complex. We're continuing to coordinate that with them. As far as if they're going to aesthetically carry the same look through their property, I can't really speak to that. That's really a decision for Hudson Heritage.
Okay, I don't see any additional questions. I know the last time I said that it always prompts a question. So why don't we take this as the last question, which I think is a good one. Okay, or last two. Why is there no western leg north of Fulton Street?
Yeah, that would be the piece behind Home Depot, I think is what that's in reference to. We don't want to encourage people to cross Fulton at that location. It's very dangerous. So we don't want to develop that piece. That's why we're sending everybody up to the bridge. Or if you want to get to like the Home Depot Plaza, you would head down to the established lights and crosswalks that have a safe place to cross there. Some of that leg will be cleaned up a little bit for emergency services and maintenance access, but we're not going to develop it as part of the trail.
Okay, thank you. And then a note or comment from Carl Whitehead about the use of a bicycle channel ramp next to stairs to make it easier for cyclists to access the trail at staircases.
Yeah, that's good feedback. A planner gave me that same feedback in a conversation and shared some photos and details of it. So that's definitely something we're going to consider for where we have staircases going in.
And we'll just reinforce too that the plan is to have, in most cases, a wide access point. At the end of Cedar, on Fulton, those access points are going to be 10 feet wide and accessible. So, they'll be suitable to get up there on a bicycle. But the channel idea, I think, is good in certain situations, and I think we'll utilize that.
Thank you. I'm going to pause for 30 seconds because apparently it takes me 3 times to learn something. So we can have a 30-second meditation.
So in that 30 seconds, most everybody on here, I'm sure, is probably signed up for Dutchess Direct already, but we'll be putting stuff out through all of our normal channels. So if you want to take part in anything that Susan put up earlier, stay tuned to all of our regular outreach channels to get notified.
And the website, just make the website a favorite. It's going to be kept up to date. We plan on putting some stuff from today up there, and we're going to keep it updated with current information. Certainly, we'll be in one of the pop-ups or when the next meeting gets scheduled. All that information will be available on the website. The contact info is on there, so you can provide written comments or emails. There's many ways for you to connect and communicate, and the website is sort of the gatekeeper for that.
Okay, so there are no more questions, so I think it's safe to I kind of close the meeting, and there is a comment from Robert Balkind here about thanking the project team, their staff partners, the DPW staff, and the county executive for their support on this important project. And We're looking forward to delivering the project to the town and the city. And Mr. Balkine says, thank you all.
I think with that, I'll thank you all as well. Thank the design team. Susan, thanks for your work in managing the Q&A section. You did perfectly fine. Well, I'm used to never quite getting the last word, so you experienced that as well. But to all of you, thank you. To Chris and Dare American Sign Language interpreters, thank you for participating as well. But most importantly, for the residents and our neighbors who participated in this town hall meeting. Thank you very much for your questions, for your input, and we encourage you to remain a part of the process. We're very excited about this project and its part in what truly is a massive expansion of county parks this year. So the benefits of a linear park are tremendous, and we want you to be a part of developing it with us. So with that, enjoy your afternoon, keep the conversation going, and feel free to reach back if you have additional questions. Be well, stay safe, and keep healthy.